Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. Picture this. Someone slides you a QR code, you scan it, and suddenly you're listening to a Korean ballad from 1978 that makes a room full of middle-aged people go completely silent. Not because it's boring, because it hits something deep. That's the world of SongPR's 5070 Monday Zero, a karaoke-style platform where the most beloved playlist is packed with 70-80 classics, music from the 1970s and 80s that middle-aged Korean listeners still can't let go of. Today, we're unpacking what that platform actually is, who the legendary artists featured on it are, and why this particular era of Korean music carries so much emotional weight decades later. By the end of this episode, you'll understand what makes 70-80 music a generational identity, not just a genre. I've got someone here who's been deep in this world, so let's get into it. What is SongPR actually doing that's different from your standard karaoke setup?
So SongPR is this karaoke-adjacent platform, and the key thing that sets it apart is the QR sharing feature. The page literally labels it Chenu QR, which translates to sharing via QR with your acquaintances. So instead of just sitting in a Norebang booth with whoever's in the room, you can beam a playlist directly to someone's phone.
Oh, so it's social by design.
Exactly. And the featured playlist on the page we're looking at is titled, and I love this title, Kanmila Kilenna, Kanmila Kilenna, which roughly translates to songs loved by the middle-aged emotional masterpieces of that era. It's not trying to be subtle about who it's for.
That's such a specific and kind of beautiful framing. That era, like they're not even naming the decade. They're just saying, you know which era we mean.
Right, and that era is the 70-80, the 1970s and 1980s in Korean music. The platform has a dedicated 70-80 genre category, and it sits alongside a 50-60 category, which tells you something really interesting about how SongPR thinks about its audience. They're not treating middle-aged listeners as one monolithic group. They're slicing it generationally.
So 70-80 is its own lane, separate from 50-60. What does that distinction actually mean musically?
Well, based on what the page content shows us, the 70-80 category is where this featured playlist lives. And the artists listed on that playlist are, honestly, a who's who of that Korean musical era. We're talking hamnanna, nihanna, nanna, and hanna.
That's a serious lineup.
It really is. And what's notable is that these aren't obscure names to the people this playlist is made for. For middle-aged Korean listeners, these artists are essentially the soundtrack of their youth. The platform is banking on that emotional recognition.
It's like if someone built a playlist specifically for a generation and just listed the names, no explanation needed because the names themselves are the explanation.
Exactly, and that's the power of the 70-80 label. It's not just a genre tag, it's a generational identity marker. When you see 70-80 on a Korean platform, you immediately know the emotional register you're stepping into.
Okay, so let's talk about the platform itself a bit more. Because looking at the page, there's a lot going on beyond just this one playlist. What else is SongPR doing?
So the genre taxonomy on SongPR is genuinely fascinating. You've got 70-80, 50-60, ballads, gospel, hymns, mario, CCM, K-pop, world pop, pansori, mario, instrumental, open mic, and even CF music, which is commercial jingle-style content.
Wait, pansori? Like traditional Korean narrative singing that's on the same platform as K-pop?
On the same platform, yes. And I think that's actually one of the most telling things about SongPR. It's not trying to be a niche platform for one type of listener. It's trying to be a complete emotional map of Korean musical life, from the most ancient traditional forms to the most contemporary pop.
That's a wild range. And honestly, it kind of reflects how Koreans think about communal singing, right? Like, Norebang culture isn't just for one genre, it's for everyone.
That's a really good point. And the QR sharing feature reinforces that. Magga QR is literally about passing music to people you know. It's built around the idea that music is something you share, not just consume alone.
So instead of passing the mic, you're passing the QR code.
Exactly. And the platform also has features like Magdaga, selfie, and Magda, recording. So it's not just about listening, it's about capturing yourself in the moment of singing, which is a very different relationship with music than just streaming.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's participatory. You're not a passive listener, you're a performer.
Right. And that fits perfectly with the Norebang tradition. In Korean karaoke culture, the point was never just to hear the song, it was to sing it, to inhabit it, to make it yours for 3 minutes.
And for the middle-aged listeners this playlist is aimed at, Singing those 70, 80 songs isn't just entertainment, it's probably something closer to time travel.
That's a really apt way to put it. The playlist description uses the phrase "Hanna Hanna," the emotion of that time, that era. It's explicitly invoking nostalgia as the core experience.
And nostalgia is powerful, like genuinely powerful in a way that's hard to overstate.
It really is. And the platform seems to understand that. The featured playlist is tagged under Jun FM and described as immediately playable, Hanna Hanna, one tap and you're in. There's no friction between you and the memory.
One tap and you're back in 1979. That's kind of remarkable when you think about it.
And the fact that it's labeled under Jun FM suggests there's a curatorial voice behind it, someone making editorial decisions about what belongs in this emotional space.
Let's go back to the artist for a second, because I want to make sure listeners really get a sense of who we're talking about. The page lists 9 artists. Channo, Nanyi, Kananyo, Nanya, Nyanya, Ninya, Nanya, Nanya, Nyanyo. What does that lineup tell us about the 70-80 sound?
Based on what the page content gives us, these are the names that define the era for middle-aged Korean listeners. The platform is presenting them as channo, emotional masterpieces. That word channa, which means sensitivity or emotional resonance, is doing a lot of work here.
Channo. I love that word. It's like, it's not just emotion, it's a particular quality of feeling, right?
Exactly. And oho means masterpiece or classic song. So the playlist is literally called a collection of emotionally resonant masterpieces. That's a high bar to set, but for the audience it's aimed at, those songs probably do clear it.
It's interesting because the platform isn't hedging. It's not saying songs you might like or popular tracks. It's saying these are masterpieces. Full stop.
And that confidence is part of the appeal. For middle-aged listeners, there's something validating about a platform that says, yes, the music you grew up with was genuinely great. It wasn't just nostalgia. It was no-ho.
Okay, I want to zoom out for a second, because looking at the full genre list on SongPR, 70-80, 50-60, ballads, gospel, hymns, CCM, K-pop, pansori, open mic, CF music, there's something almost encyclopedic about it. Like, what is SongPR actually trying to be?
I think it's trying to be a complete singing platform, not just a karaoke app, but something that covers every context in which a Korean person might want to sing. Religious music, traditional music, pop, commercial jingles, all of it.
And there's even a maho tag, work songs, which is such a specific and kind of ancient category.
Right, mahra literally means labor songs, songs sung while working. The fact that it's on the platform at all suggests SongPR is thinking about music not just as entertainment, but as something functional, something woven into the rhythms of daily life.
That's actually a really different philosophy from most streaming platforms, which are purely about consumption. SongPR seems to be about participation and function.
And the open mic category, Natio, takes that even further. It's not just about singing existing songs, it's about creating a space for original performance. That's a significant expansion of what a karaoke platform usually does.
So SongPR is kind of like a whole musical ecosystem, and the 70-80 playlist is just one room in a very large house.
That's a great way to frame it, and it's the room that's clearly been decorated with the most care for this particular audience. The emoji coding, the little musical notes, the hearts, the genre icons, it's all designed to make navigation feel warm and inviting rather than clinical.
The emoji thing is actually kind of genius from a UX perspective. You don't need to read Korean to understand that means something emotionally warm, or that means instrumental.
Exactly. And for a platform aimed partly at middle-aged users who might not be digital natives, that visual shorthand is really smart design. It lowers the barrier to entry.
Okay, so let's bring this back to the core of what we're talking about. The 5070 MIDI concept, what does that name actually mean? Because 5070 is in the platform name itself.
So 5070 MIDI refers to a karaoke space. MIDI literally means singing room, oriented toward people in their 50s and 70s. It's naming the audience directly. This isn't a platform pretending to be for everyone while secretly targeting one group. It's upfront about who it's for.
There's something really refreshing about that. Most platforms try to be everything to everyone. This one says, no, we know exactly who we're talking to.
And that specificity is probably what makes it work. When you know your audience that precisely, you can curate for them with real depth. The 70-80 playlist isn't a random assortment, it's a carefully chosen set of artists that would mean something specific to that generation.
And the QR sharing feature makes so much more sense in that context too. Because for that generation, music was always social. You didn't listen alone, you listened together, you sang together.
Right, and Tanglu QR, sharing with acquaintances, is essentially a digital version of that. It's saying, here's a song, share it with someone you know, keep the music moving between people.
I keep coming back to how the platform describes the playlist. Tanyala ni wa tanyala tamtanya. That phrase is doing so much work. It's not just describing the music, it's describing a feeling, a time, a whole world.
And that's the thing about 70-80 music for Korean listeners of that generation. It's not just music, it's a container for memory. Every song on that playlist probably carries a specific moment, a specific person, a specific place for the people who grew up with it.
And SongPR is essentially building a platform that honors that. It's not trying to modernize those songs or remix them into something new. It's preserving them in their original emotional context.
Which is a curatorial choice with real philosophical weight behind it. The platform is saying, these songs don't need to be updated. They're masterpieces. Moho, they stand on their own.
And the cover feature, Moho, is interesting in that context too. Because covers are a way of honoring a song while also making it your own. It's a different kind of preservation.
Exactly. The platform has a dedicated cover category, Kemdo, which suggests it's not just about the original recordings, it's about the ongoing life of these songs as people reinterpret them. That's how music stays alive across generations.
So the 70-80 songs aren't just being preserved in amber, they're being actively sung, covered, shared, recorded. They're still living.
That's the most important thing. A song that only exists in an archive is a historical artifact. A song that people are still singing, still covering, still sharing via QR code with their friends, that's a living piece of culture.
And SongPR is the infrastructure that keeps that culture alive. That's actually a pretty significant role for what might look like just a karaoke app.
It really is. And the breadth of the platform, all those genre categories, the selfie feature, the recording feature, the open mic space, suggests the people behind it understand that. They're not building a jukebox, they're building a community.
Okay. So when you step back from everything we've covered today, the 50-71 concept, the 70-80 playlist, the artists, the platform design, what's the through line?
Here's what this really comes down to. SongPR is a platform that takes seriously the idea that music is a social and emotional technology, not just entertainment. The 70-80 playlist, with artists like Enna, and the rest, is a deliberate act of cultural preservation wrapped in a very accessible, shareable format.
And the QR sharing feature is the mechanism that makes it social. You're not just listening, you're connecting.
Right. And the platform's genre taxonomy, from 70-80 all the way to Pansori to open mic, tells you that SongPR sees Korean musical life as something vast and layered, not reducible to any single era or style. The 70-80 playlist is one room in that house, but it's a room built with real love.
And for middle-aged Korean listeners, that room is probably the most important one. Because Todni wan Lanyu Todni, that era, is where their musical identity was formed.
Exactly. And what SongPR is doing, making those songs instantly accessible, shareable, singable, recordable, is essentially saying, your memories matter, your music matters, and we've built a space where you can keep living inside it.
That's a powerful thing to offer someone. Not just a song, but a way back to who they were when they first heard it.
And the one-tap playback, Tana Talatagli, is almost poetic in that context. One tap, no friction, just the music, immediately, the way memory works.
One tap and you're back in that era. That's the whole promise of the platform, really.
And it's a promise that only works if the curation is right, which is why the artist lineup matters so much. Tani, 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 Yali, Tani, Nalyali, these aren't random picks. They're the names that carry the weight of that era.
And the platform trusts its audience to know that. It doesn't explain who these artists are, it just lists them, because for the people this is made for, no explanation is needed.
That's a form of respect, actually, treating your audience as people who already know, who already feel, who just need the door opened for them.
So here's the thing that I keep thinking about. We started this episode talking about a QR code that someone slides you, and suddenly you're in a room full of people going quiet because a song hit them somewhere deep. And that's exactly what SongPR is engineering. Not just a listening experience, a shared emotional moment.
And the fact that it's built around sharing, QR, passing it to someone you know, means those moments are designed to ripple outward. One person hears a 70-80 classic, shares it, and suddenly someone else is back in that era too.
Music as a chain reaction. I love that.
And that's ultimately what makes 70-80 music so durable. It's not just that the songs are good, though the platform calls them one-ho, masterpieces, for a reason. It's that they're embedded in a whole social and emotional infrastructure that keeps them alive.
All right. Here's where I land on all of this. SongPR's 50/70 Lundu and its 70/80 playlist are doing something that most music platforms don't even try to do. They're treating music as a living cultural practice, not a product. The QR sharing, the recording feature, the covers category, the open mic space, all of it points to a platform that understands music is something you do together, not just something you consume alone. And for middle-aged Korean listeners, the 70/80 classics on that playlist aren't just songs. They're chamnyuhanyu chamni, that era, preserved and made accessible with a single tap.
And maybe that's the real lesson here. The most powerful music platforms aren't the ones with the biggest catalogues. They're the ones that understand what music actually means to the people listening and build everything around that.
So the next time someone slides you a QR code and says, just listen, scan it. Because on the other side might be a song that's been carrying someone's whole world for 50 years. Thanks for joining us on Copilot Podcasts.